Hey Canucks fans, welcome to Clay's Canucks commentary for Wednesday, December the 19th. I'm Clay Emo, I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter, I'm at Clayton Emo on Instagram. I'm a founding member of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club, and this is my Canucks take, all in one take. Just one day after making a big deal about being in a new setting in my car with a new camera angle, I'm in a different car, I'm in our other vehicle, our van today, had to bring some stuff to work, but don't worry, I'll be back to my regular view tomorrow, back in my trusty 2015 Honda Civic. This is a Honda Odyssey, by the way. You can tell we're a Honda family. It must be the half Japanese in me. Okay, you don't care about the car. We care about the game last night. We care about Troy Stecher getting hurt. We care about Brock Besser standing up for Elias Pettersson. We care about a lot of things. So let's talk about the very spirited, the very energetic, the electric crowd, the craziness that took place at Rogers Arena as the Vancouver Canucks lost 5-2 to the visiting Tampa Bay Lightning. And we knew this was going to be a tough game for all the reasons I outlined yesterday. The fact that Tampa Bay was the top in the league, they had number 2 power play, number 4 penalty kill. They had guys like Kucherov and Point and Stamkos and Hedman and Vasilevsky. So they're a really, really, really strong team. That's why they're a betting favorite to win the Stanley Cup this year. We saw a lot of those good skills. We saw Vasilevsky's skill. We saw We saw, how dangerous the forwards are. What we didn't anticipate was that Tampa would goon it up. And actually, in all seriousness, I'm not a biased fan. As you know, I try and be as objective as I can. But I'm really, really upset that there's no discipline handed to Danik Martel. So let's talk about what happened last night. And basically, let's talk about the second period. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the goals today or who played well, who didn't play well, because, we can do that in the other 81 games. I think the story, we'd all agree, was what happened in the second period. So things started off fine, or the fun started when Antoine Roussel checked Yanni Gourde into the stanchion. I don't think he intentionally was trying to smoke his face into the stanchion, but he did. And then Gourde naturally took exception, and they had a fight, and it was fine. It wasn't a dirty fight. They went at it pretty good, maybe yelling at each other in French. But whatever it is, that was the start of it. And it wasn't necessarily a dirty game up to that point, but then things changed. So a little bit later in the second period, Troy Stecher, our defenseman, was, in the neutral zone, a bit away from the boards, but in the neutral zone. And then forward Danik Martel gave him a blindside hit. Now, with these hits, basically shoulder to head. Now, with these hits, it's always a bunch of things. We have the benefit of having instant replay to slow things down. We know the opposite is true when it happens. Things happen so quickly, and we don't expect the refs to catch everything. This one was tricky because it's one of those where Martel led with his shoulder, no doubt about that, and then there's going to be an argument of what was the principal point of contact. Obviously, when you're looking down, someone's head is very close to their shoulder. So you could argue that the principal point of contact, you could catch someone in the shoulder and in the head at the exact same time. Because, especially if someone's like this, like Stecher was, you could easily make contact with both places. I know, I've had a concussion playing hockey before. I know what it's like to get hit in the head. I haven't been hit by a pro NHL player, but you know what I'm saying. So needless to say, Martel goes through Stecher, puts Stecher on the ice, and ultimately got a 2-minute penalty for interference. Of course, Travis Green, the Canucks, the fans were upset. They wanted it to be 5 in a game for a hit to the head. The refs, I don't know how long or how closely they looked at it on replay. Maybe they didn't see enough conclusive evidence to say that it was a hit to the head. But that doesn't mean that the NHL Department of Player Safety can't do anything about it later. So I'll talk about that in a second. But in the actual heat of the moment, it was only a 2-minute penalty. And it doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't equate to anything, because here you have maybe arguably your 3rd or 4th best defenseman, definitely a second pairing guy, or a second or 3rd pairing guy, but I would argue he's better than Branson and almost better than Hutton, close to Hutton. So let's just say he's our 3rd or 4th best defenseman. So he could possibly, I hope the news is good today, but he could be out for a game, a week, a month, a couple months like Berchi, who knows? So he could be out for that long, and yet all Tampa had to do was kill a 2-minute penalty for a 4th liner. Like, it doesn't make sense. Even a 5-minute penalty might not make sense. At least in the scope of the game, the Canucks have a chance to do some damage on the power play, although they weren't effective that night. But at least it's a 5-minute opportunity, and it sends a message, hey, NHL Department of Player Safety, you got to look at this. But by only giving him a 2-minute minor, it already shows that the refs didn't think it was that serious. It might bias the Department of Player Safety, who knows? But ultimately, you're losing, like I said, your third or fourth best defenseman for maybe not only a game, but maybe a week, a month. Who knows? We'll find out later, or we'll find out later this week. But that's certainly not a fair trade-off. It's ridiculous. 2 minutes for something like that, for taking out a player who won't play for the next little bit, perhaps. It's nuts. And then we find out today that the Department of Player Safety won't even look at it. They're not going to, no hearing, so no fine, no suspension. It was just, okay, 2-minute penalty. Hope you enjoyed your time in the box. Go ahead and do what you're doing prior. It's crazy. And I really think, and I'm trying to be as honest as I can, as I always am, if the roles were reversed and it was a fourth liner like a Roussel, or a third or fourth liner like a Roussel or a Mott or Granlund hitting, a defenseman from Tampa Bay, I like to think I would be thinking the same thing and not trying to make excuses. Oh, that was shoulder to shoulder. Oh, it's Stecher's fault that he's so small. Oh, whatever it may be. So I get it. That's why fan bases are fan bases. They're passionate. They're loyal. They stick to their own team, of course, and they'll stand up for their own team, which makes a lot of sense, which I'll get to in a second. But, looking objectively at this, I don't know how Martel didn't get more than 2 minutes. Even if he doesn't get a fine or suspension, at least get 5 minutes for a dangerous hit to the head and then throw him out of the game. Actually, I don't know if that comes with an automatic 1-game suspension. And maybe you guys can correct me or let me know down below. But I don't know. It's 5 plus the rest of that game plus another game. I don't know the rule. I should have looked it up before, but I was too passionate. I was too excited to start this video. Okay, so Martel gets his 2-minute penalty. Fine. Stecher's out for the game, which sucks. Martel gets out of the penalty box. So Tampa kills their penalty. They try and feed him for a breakaway pass. He misses it. Goes in the corner. And then the whistle goes because it's icing, because he didn't catch up to the puck. And then Virtanen goes after him, cross-check, punch, or at least a little bit of a scuffle. And then Gudbranson comes in. And then whether you can argue this is a third man in or whatever, Gudbranson loads up and gives Martel a pretty hard punch. Now, granted, Gudbranson had his glove on, and we don't see, because of the camera angle, we can't see if the punch hit Martel in the chest or in the face, but Martel did get bloodied up for him, so maybe it caught him in the face. I'm not excusing this either. Gudbranson should maybe face supplemental discipline. Certainly not a suspension, but perhaps a fine of some sort. Again, in trying to be objective, Gudbranson was likely lucky that he didn't get anything more. Was it a sucker punch? Depends on your definition of sucker punch. I guess it is, because if someone did that to one of our guys, I'd be pretty mad actually about it. So I don't think it was the best look for Gudbranson, but amazingly he was even penalized on that play, and therefore I doubt he'll get any. And in fact, I haven't heard anything about supplemental discipline for him either. So that was Martel. And then that was Martel on Stecher, and then there was Martel on the receiving end of a punch from Gudbranson. Then later in the period, Cedric Paquette gives Pettersson a good hit in the corner. I don't think it was dirty. I don't think anyone on the Canucks was saying it was a dirty or cheap hit, but it was a hard hit. But as we've come accustomed to with many teams, you protect your star players. So then Besser, and the whistle, goes over to Paquette and puts him in a headlock. Didn't try and punch him or tackle him. Just put him in a headlock saying, hey, you shouldn't do that to our best player. Then Paquette wound up with a huge punch that Besser just dodged in a very Floyd Mayweather-like move. And when you look at the replay, if that connected with Besser's face, it could have done some major damage. But thankfully, he missed. I'm not sure Besser saw it coming, or that was his natural body movement. But Besser avoided that big punch from Paquette. And then Hutton goes in, and he's fighting. And then Paquette's fighting. And then Cirelli's tackling Besser. And it was crazy. It was quite the melee, for sure. The melee, however you say that word. But then they separated all that. And then, so really there are 4 instances that happened in the second period. It was Roussel fighting Gord. It was Martel on Stecher. It was Virtanen and Gudbranson back at Martel. And then it was Paquette on, with Besser and Pettersson and Hutton. And it's annoying because Paquette and Martel played a really good game, actually, aside from all these shenanigans. They played a really good game on Tampa's fourth line, combining for, I think, their second goal of the game. A really nice, actually, blind pass across the crease from Martel to Paquette. But regardless, I guess that makes it even more annoying. And I tweeted yesterday that in Martel we've found our new Brad Marchand, just because of how annoying and how agitated he was getting all the Canucks fans. So there's a lot to digest there. The big takeaway, though, I spent about 7 or 8 minutes breaking down all these hits and these melees and these scrums. The big thing is the Canucks stood up for each other. The Vancouver Canucks stood up for each other, fought for each other, and had each other's back. And we know that when defenseman Mike Matheson of the Florida Panthers put Elias Pettersson down with his choke slam in mid-October, causing Pettersson to miss 2 weeks, 6 games, the whole Canucks fan base, excuse me, I must be really choked up. No, I'm not. The whole Canucks fan base was up in arms, saying that the Canucks did not protect their star player. They did not stand up for each other. They weren't really a team. That must have been in the back of guys' minds, guys like Goodbranson and Virtanen, 2 of the guys who are supposed to be the bigger, tougher guys, in a guy, in Roussel's mind, whatever it may be. It was certainly a 180-degree turn. It was night and day what we saw from the Canucks. The pushback, the standing up for each other, the risking fines or suspension when Goodbranson and Virtanen basically double-teamed Martel, so Goodbranson could have been a third man in. But it was nice. They were chirping, they were standing up for each other, they were having each other's back, and they were protecting each other. Even that Paquette hit on Pettersson, which I admit was a clean hit. Besser still didn't like his best friend and his best player on the ice. So Besser did something about it, and it could have resulted in a lot worse. Thank God it didn't. But so many things. Yes, on the score sheet, the Canucks lost 5-2. Yes, we don't think the Canucks will make the playoffs, although they're making it a little more interesting. But when you can walk out of Rogers Arena saying, we stood up to the best team in the league, not the toughest team in the league, but we stood up to the best team in the league. It was really a 1-goal game until that late goal, Stamkos on Nilsson, the relatively weak goal, and then an empty net goal. So really it was a 1-goal game up until 3 minutes left. We went toe-to-toe with them, and hey, we might not meet them in the finals this year, but maybe 2-3 years down the road, maybe that's a possibility. That's pretty exciting to think about. It gave the fans something to be excited about. It gave the coaches something to be excited about. And most importantly, those players knowing that they have each other's back. Imagine now how Pettersson feels, the difference from 2 months ago when there was no reaction to, he had Besser, the second or third best player on the team, standing up for him. Hutton standing up for him. So these are young guys too. These aren't the veterans of the team. These are young guys that are willing to mix it up and stand up for each other. Virtanen for Stecher. So you have guys like Virtanen and Besser and Hutton, and they're standing up for guys. That goes a long way in the locker room. So who knows what difference it's going to make. I'm going to be at the game tomorrow night against St. Louis, and then I'm not at the last game, Winnipeg, on Saturday night. But maybe the Canucks come out even more galvanized, maybe more intense, more unified, whatever word you want to use. I think in the big picture, what happened last night was a good thing from a team bonding, team unity standpoint. We just wait with nervousness at the prognosis, the diagnosis for Troy Stecher. And hopefully I'm recording a video tomorrow about how he's not going to miss any games and that he's in the lineup tomorrow. But we shall see. The Canucks practice today, and I'm sure Travis Green or Jim Benning will address it after the practice. Okay, that's a bit of a long video, but I got kind of, pretty passionate there. Got fired up, riled up, charged, electric, whatever pun you want to use for Tampa Bay Lightning. But it was a good game. An intense game, a playoff-like game. No shame in losing to the Bolts. There should be shame what Martel did to Stecher, but don't get me started again. I'm almost wrapping up here. Canucks fans, there's a lot to digest there. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about Martel's hit on Stecher, about the penalty that they got or that he didn't get. Tell me about Virtanen and Goodbranson going back at Martel. Talk to me about Besser standing up for Pettersson, headlocking Paquette. Talk to me about Paquette almost knocking Besser out. So much to digest, so much to talk about. Leave a comment below. I'd love to read, react, and reply. Subscribe to the channel if you like to. Like this video if you like to. Also on this channel this morning, I talked about Carter Hart making his debut for the Philadelphia Flyers and being the 4th youngest goalie to win in history, his debut for an NHL team. Pretty exciting stuff. Carter Hart with the 3-2 win over Philly over Detroit. That's my NHL 2-on-1 video for today. Canucks are practicing 11:30. probably media availability, talking about Stecher afterwards from Travis Green or Jim Benning. And then I'll likely record a video, likely tomorrow, knowing what my day's going to look like. And I'll touch on it tomorrow as I preview tomorrow night's game with St. Louis. Okay, thanks for watching. Enjoy your day. God bless, and go Canucks go.